Caching in the Northwest. This is the official podcast of GeoWoodstock 18, right here in the Great Pacific Northwest. Each week, we're going to talk about caches and cachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're looking for the next delivery truck, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
Well, of course, that means it's time to bring in our coding chimp. Some say his geomobile is a parade float. And others say he has X-ray vision for plastic containers. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hello, hello, hello. I thought you said the coding chimp. And I was like, I'm a little more active than that. But good to be here. Good to be here. Also, good to be here with this guy sitting right beside me here. This is Nick from Cashly. Hey, Nick.
Hey, nice to be here.
Awesome. Good to have you back. It's been a while since you've been on the show, but got some big news that came out this week. Was it this week or last week?
I think it was last week, actually.
Last week? All right. Wow.
Yeah.
We're excited to talk about Cashly 6.0. We'll get into all that with Nick, and very excited to hear about it. You know, the funny thing is I am not an Apple user, but I still get super excited because so many of my friends are so passionate about Cashly that it's just fun to talk about. So there you go.
That's great.
All right. Hey, you know what? This is also the opportunity for us to have a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of all of you awesome patrons. Thank you for helping to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And thanks to Land Sharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. And hey, the Land Sharks are open again. They're allowing 3 people in the store at once, and they encourage the use of credit or debit as opposed to cash. They still encourage people to continue to shop online and pick up in store to reduce any unnecessary contact. But hey, you know, our good friends at Land Sharks and that super cool cash out in front of their store.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on, man. All right. And hey, if you want to know more about supporting this show, why don't you go on over and click that Patreon link on the cashingnw.com, a website.
That's right. And folks, we love Cashly, but we also love glows. And tonight we're going to talk about both. Right now, we're going to talk about glows. What is a glow, you may ask? That's a geocaching log of the week. So whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it. And it's a good chance you read it more than wrote it these days, but you never know. Because great logs simply make geocaching better. Send an email or a field recording to feedback@cachingnw.com. You can always call into 253-693-TFTC or even use the voicemail tool right there on the website and show us how you glow.
Yes, indeed. So this one came from Dune Buddy via feedback@cachingnw.com. Is that what I read there?
Yeah.
That email still works. Good to know. So send those glows in, folks. He says, here's a glow submission for my log for GC2FDB Stepping Stone Cache. It's a reminder to pay attention to weather warnings because you never know when a flash flood or other weather-related emergency will show up. I also found this article, A Rookie's Guide to Surviving Colorado's Backcountry, from 5280 Magazine, which is the magazine for Denver, Colorado, that gives practical advice for any backcountry area, as well as lists the 10 essentials that you've mentioned in the show. So good for pointing that out. Always good to bring the 10 essentials up. The log reads, this morning, the weather alerts went off on my mobile phone, warning of flash floods. Fortunately, I was inside and not directly affected by the rain, but the rest of the area was, with up to 3.5 inches falling in 1 hour. After work, I headed out to find some old caches in the area. This was the last cache of the day. As I neared Ground Zero, I thought I might not get a chance to try for the find since the path was covered in debris. This included a large stump that was stuck in a railing 1 meter above the walk, which was a couple of meters above the water. Close to where the container was supposed to be, the ferns were flattened and debris was everywhere. My GPSR was bouncing around and it was getting dark. With all the flooding, I thought the container could be anywhere downstream, and this was going to be a DNF. But finally, I managed to see the container, which had been attached to a tree with a string. It was all wrapped around the tree. I untangled it and opened it, only to find it full of water. Everything was soaked. I dumped the water out and kind of signed the wet log, then put everything back in the container. The cache definitely needs maintenance. Now, normally the lure of finding a 2002 cache would seduce me into ignoring weather warnings and go for the find. Fortunately, I was at work, so I was inside and not out caching during the heavy rain. The force of the water was eye-opening, and I would not want to imagine what it would have been like to be in the area when the water came rushing along. I certainly will remember what I saw the next time my phone sends out weather warnings.
Wow, that's intense. Reminds me of some of the flash flooding happens up in Gold Country sometimes this time of year.
Yeah, they're no joke.
No, you definitely don't want to get caught in that for sure.
Isn't it
Three
amazing
and
the power of nature has?
yeah,
Yeah, no kidding.
it transcends measurement systems. 3.5 inches of rain an hour can put a stump a meter over the trail. So, you know,
Go. It's all irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's just
That's right.
chaos.
yeah, it doesn't matter how you measure it. I don't want to be there.
Yeah, precisely. Maybe that's why they're using multiple measuring systems. Like one person started measuring it, and then
Yeah.
they got washed away. Yeah. Oh goodness. All right. Well, hey, we've got Nick here. We're going to talk about Cachly. And so if you want to ask your Cachly questions during the show, use #Cachly, and we will pass those questions on to our good friend Nick.
That was #Cachly for Android.
There's Nick. What you said? There's one answer to anybody uses #Cachly for Android.
Yeah, it's no.
There you go.
Thanks
So
for
that's
joining us. Good night. No.
That's taken care of now. Yeah. And
We
of course,
appreciate Nick's sense of humor on this show.
Yeah.
I appreciate that he still keeps coming back. Yeah. And of course, folks, if you have something you want to talk about in the after show, use #FATAS. So anything that isn't on topic, but you want to talk about it, heck, we'll talk about it in the after show. Just use #FATAS. And our chat lackey is working hard in the background, keeping an eye on everything. And I don't know. I'd say he's keeping the people in the chat in line, but that's a pretty big job.
Well, and he's not usually in line anyway. So
There's that too.
no. Oh, he looks pretty comfortable, though. I see him back there.
Yeah, he looks pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
Hey, guys in the chat, make the chat lackey work a little harder. He's looking a little too laid back there. All right. You guys are awesome in the chat. And the chat's already been going great guns and having all kinds of great conversations,
Yeah.
helping each other out with questions. So fun. All right. So, introducing our guests as we did, and just finding our way says #Cachly for Android as if I don't know the answer. So there you go. Udak says it's a pipe dream, Cachly for Android. Nick, there is, I mean, obviously you hear about this every time, and you did take an approach to deal with this one time. Is that still a thing, or?
Yeah, I did a. It was either a Kickstarter or what the other service, but I thought maybe we could crowdsource some funding, but I think I got about $200, so it didn't go very far. But yeah, I once had the idea of being able to hire an Android developer, because I would never have the time to do it, and it didn't go anywhere. So that's what I've said. The only way I could do it is if somebody else, I hired them, because the amount of work to build that and then manage both of them and have the same features, and it would just be impossible.
Sure.
So
Makes
Well, if you
total
know an Android developer that'll work for $200, get in touch with Nick.
one-time payment of
shoot me an
$200.
email.
You never know; it could be out there.
Yeah. I'm not going to hold my breath, but it could happen, right? So
No, that's good. All right, so there's lots of cool features that are coming out with Cachly 6.0, and we'll ask you about them. So, Chris, I think you had the first one up there that you were curious about.
Yeah. So, 6.0 just came out a week ago. And I mean, Nick, you put a lot of work into a full version release.
Yeah.
We don't have this scripted, but do you know how many hours, how many weeks, how many years you put into this?
No, I don't know how many hours, but I think that I started working on it at the start of the last summer, something like that. And real life gets in the way, real work gets in the way, and sometimes I had hoped to release it last year, and then things happened. So, and then I was about ready to release it, and then unfortunately all the COVID stuff happened, and I didn't feel like it was the right time to release it and promote it right when that was all happening. So I kind of held off, and we fixed some more bugs, and then finally last week it felt like it was the right time. So yeah, probably just, I don't know. I can't even estimate how many hours I have into this, as well as conversations with beta testers and emails about the new version and stuff like that. So
Sounds like you put about 9 months into it.
yeah, it's about right.
Gestation period of a release.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, let's take pictures of the new baby and pass them around. We should all be getting a trackable cigar of some sort, right? No.
Congratulations, it's an app.
Well, speaking of trackables, one of the things that is new in Cachly 6.0 is a trackable scanner.
Yes.
This is a huge inclusion. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's not a way to compete with the app called TB Scan. It's just a convenience for Cachly users. So, wherever you are, if you're at a mega event or, just find a trackable in a cache, you can scan the trackable and it will, read the code, bring up some options where you can save, discover log right there. You can send it to geocaching.com. You can edit it. You can do a number of different things. But yeah, it's really just a convenience and a quick way to, quickly go through a bunch of trackables that you might have on hand. So try to work with my beta testers on ways to do it really quickly. So if you had, a list of 12, we actually had a PDF when we printed out about 12 different codes that all of us had, and we could see how fast we could scan them and get them either in pending logs or submitted. And so that was kind of our base test, was see how fast we could scan just a bunch of them and get them saved. So.
Well, it's got to be handy having it right in the app, though, right? Because I'm thinking, like, being at an event and discovering a bunch of trackables is one thing, but if you're caching and you're either, you open a cache and there's a trackable in there, or you're dropping one off, the ability to I guess not so much if you're, well, I'm just thinking if you're dropping it off, you probably have it in your inventory anyways. But I'm thinking if you open up a cache and there's a trackable in there, that can speed things up because they're not always in the inventory for the cache.
For sure. And if you snapped a photo of a trackable, you can actually upload the photo later. So that's also part of it. And you can, crop it right down to where the trackable code is, so it has an easier time reading it. So you have a couple of different ways.
That's pretty cool. And so, one of the things that I always find with that whole OCR approach is generally they use kind of the same font, but not always on trackables. And the other thing is, like, when it's engraved on shiny metal and it's not embossed at all, or there's very little relief on it. So what's your experience been with that, Nick? How well does it work?
It seems to work quite well. Even on the reflective shiny metal, and even one of my beta testers had a coin where the code was along a curve, and it seemed to read that. So that was pretty impressive.
That's good.
Yeah. So I think the only issues is maybe like a 0 and an O, if they even have those on trackables. But some of the alike digits sometimes can be confused, but it's pretty accurate most of the time.
How does it do? I know a local cacher who has several trackable codes engraved upon his person. Does it do anything obscure like that, or just purely the actual printed?
That would probably work, but we have not tested that I know of.
That should work well. There's pretty high contrast there, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's all we need.
That's funny. I never thought about that. Well, but the font might not be consistent, right? That's the
right. Yeah, I don't know for sure, but
hang on.
I think at least with the
little longer,
the backend that I'm using, the fonts shouldn't necessarily matter unless it's a scripty font or something, which I don't think anybody would ever print a trackable in a script font.
No, I think their goal is to make it legible. So,
yeah.
Well, we'll have to try it sometime. I'll bring my iPad if we ever get to have events again. I see him at local events, so I'll try give it a
Yeah.
shot.
Be a good test.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that won't be awkward at all, would say.
He's used to it. In fact, whenever he gets new ones fairly, because hey, check out the new one. He's very proud to share the tracking code.
Well, I'm
Thankfully,
thinking
they're
if
all
he-
in
Yeah.
good spots.
If you get a trackable code permanently imprinted on your person, you're kind of already game for that whole approach. Anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good sport about it. So we'll let you know. Stay tuned. Or come in later. Anyway. So one of the other things that you worked on, or bug, I don't know if you want to call it a bug fix or just a new feature or revision. I know that in the past version, sometimes if you left the app to go, say, to the camera,
Yeah.
you would completely lose where you were in the app. And you have to go back, go to the app, find out where you were in the app, scroll through. And I hear that that's better now.
That is better now. Yeah. So that problem arose because iOS was memory hungry, and so when you would leave to go to something like the camera app, it might want to quit other apps in the process, which is frustrating. But there's a way to save the previous state that the user was viewing, and it wasn't until this version that I actually was able to do that, because it was a incredible amount of work. Every screen basically in the entire app had to be addressed and figure out how to save everything that the user was doing on that screen, so that it could be restored. So we called it like the biggest feature that users would never notice. So it was a lot of work, and users have on the Facebook group have said that they love it because they do know about it. But if a user just came to Cachly, they would never really know it existed, and that's kind of what the goal was, to make users not even realize it was happening. So
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think one of the things, so when I saw state restoration, I was like, I'm not really sure what that means. Like,
Yeah.
It would be province.
Yeah.
It's no provinces up there. Yeah.
yeah. so now I get it. So I appreciate you explaining it for us, Nick. And the way you've explained it, the use case I'm thinking of where this would be incredibly valuable is now with Adventure Labs being so prominent, so many Adventure Labs out there, you don't have a choice. I'm pretty sure you got to switch apps, right? I don't think Cachly does Adventure Labs.
no, the API doesn't support that for
Right.
developers.
So no app does except the Adventure Lab app.
Yeah, currently.
So then state restoration is even more important.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, Alan Richards agrees. The app restore was the most frustrating issue with the last version. One of the few reasons I would sometimes use the official app. So there you go.
I hope Alan is using Cachly more often then.
Yeah.
Now.
Very, very cool. All right.
Is it exactly the same thing you did? So annoying if you switched to the camera to take a picture and iOS took too much memory and dropped the state.
Yeah. Yep. That was the most common complaint, was the camera app.
Oh, it's way better now.
There you go.
Yeah. Remwood said that when they get a text, you go open the text and then come back and didn't restore. So
There you go.
Good deal.
Speaking of Renwood, they also they commented a little bit up here. Thanks to you, Nick. They hit their 1800th find this past weekend, thanks to Cachly and offline maps. So there you go.
Wonderful.
very good.
Congrats.
Yes, indeed. Congrats, Renwood. So speaking of hitting milestones, and of course, if you're going to do that, you got to log your finds. There's been some enhancements with cache logs as well in Cachly. I understand you can view the logs of your friends on any particular geocache, your own logs, and there's some sort of share option as well. Do you want to run us through what those things are?
Yeah, I'll talk about the first two. The share is kind of boring because it's just really sharing the URL of geocaching.com of a log. But yeah, so first one where you can view your friends' logs, that was a much requested feature for probably as long as Cachly's been around, and people would always say, well, CGeo can do it on Android.
That's where I know it from. I really like that feature.
Yeah, and I would have to boringly explain that was not an official app, and they were kind of hacking their way to get those results.
No, we're not.
Yeah, but so actually, I think I put in this feature request to HQ, and they were gracious enough to add it. So yeah, you can view logs that your friends have, and it's really nice. I've tested this on some of the most popular caches in Washington, and I saw some of you guys on there, especially Chris. I read a couple of your logs for some of the caches, and it's just a cool feature to actually see. Yeah, you to see some of the logs from your friends, especially if you were stumped or something like that on a cache. But one thing I should mention is that geocaching has privacy rules to comply with GDPR and different privacy laws. So you have to opt in to be able to see all these friends. So you and your friends definitely need to go to geocaching.com and go to your settings and then the authorization screen, because that's where you can allow third-party apps to be able to have this feature. So
Okay. Good to
that's
know.
the only frustrating thing, is it's not on by default, but I think that the lawyers make sure that that's not the way it's going to be. So
Yeah. It makes
Yeah.
You're exactly right on that one.
yeah. But yeah, the next feature that does not require that check mark on geocaching.com is a way to view your own logs. So doesn't sound super snazzy, but I know that a lot of people, especially some of my beta testers, said, I DNF'd a cache 3 years ago, and now I have to scroll all the way back through the logs to find mine, so I can read what I wrote. And isn't there a way that I can just view all my logs for a cache? And so this was a nice addition to the API that came around right before 6.0 was added or released, and it was pretty seamless to add. So yeah, you can view all your own logs for a cache, and so there's a good time and a place when this is a useful feature. So
very, very cool.
Well,
Jump
I
in.
do have to add that the option to share. Excuse me, I'm all choked up about this.
I guess so.
The option to share a log URL is fantastic for this show. Right? You're in Cachely, you're looking at the logs, and you think, you know what? That could be a glow.
Hey,
that
Good
is
job.
Share that
true.
right. Look at this. So Nick, you didn't know it, but you made this show so much better. Glows are now going to come pouring in from all the caches.
Nick, can you just call it the glow feature now?
I could just, I'll create a custom button there, and it'll just send it right to your guys' email.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And then the person just gets their glow badge automatically. There you
Yeah.
Right in Cachely.
I'll just show a fake one on the souvenir screen. I'll just insert my own.
go. That's awesome, Nick. That's too funny. I was going to say, Start Cacher asked an interesting question here. He says,
I got it. I had it. I got it again.
all right. He says, if I was to get a secondhand iPhone, could I load Cachely and populate offline caches and maps via Wi-Fi and use most of the functions without phone data, kind of like a handheld GPSR? And then his follow-up question is, are there any main features that wouldn't work if you tried to do it that way?
You can send data between two phones. You can use the AirDrop feature to send like an offline list. You export as a GPX and then send it to the other phone. You can easily do that. And as far as offline maps, there's not a way to transfer those, but you can restore your purchase on another phone. You don't have to pay a second time, and then you would have to download those again. But definitely no extra charge, but you would have to download the maps a second time on the other phone.
Which is a fantastic value. But I think he's asking if he has an Android and he gets a secondhand iPhone.
Oh,
If he
got
makes
it.
Cachely work without activating that phone.
Well, I know I
Without
use
a
it on
cell-
an iPad.
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah, there's GPS chip in there. I have about 5 test devices that are not connected to a cell network, and I use those often to test. So yeah, totally will work. And
great.
you can just be on Wi-Fi at home, make some offline lists, and then go out caching. Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice. So now going back to your maps, I mean, we've had several comments here in the chat, and I know the chat lackeys got them later in the show notes. I just had to bring it up now. Yep. That Cachely is a bargain. I mean, the fact that you can purchase it once for your family, right?
Yep.
It's a family purchase, so you don't have to buy it per phone if your phones are all grouped together in a family.
Yep.
And you can purchase the maps and then load those on the family as well. Not only, as somebody said, it's underpriced, but you've made it a real bargain. So thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome. I think it's at a good price point, so I don't have plans to make the prices any higher.
On that note, I'm going way back in the chat, and Highlands guy did say to make sure that we mention about the tip the developer feature.
Yeah.
And it's a way to appreciate the ongoing free updates that you get. So
did we mention that this is 6.0 and it came out absolutely free if you've bought Cachly, any of the previous 5 versions?
That is true. Yes.
Very cool.
There it is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Highlands guy. Appreciate
Good
that.
reminder for sure.
I can't tell you how many apps, we got a new version.
Yeah.
Go play it again.
Yeah.
Now with Cachly.
Yeah. And Highlands guy says amazing offline maps, very fast, great trails. And the maps are one of the things that you worked on this version.
Yeah. So
you got a quick map switcher.
Yeah. So before you had to tap on the maps layer button, go back to the list there and scroll through if you wanted to go from maybe an offline map and then flip to Google Maps satellite view, something like that. You'd have to show that screen and scroll and then go down to the next one, show the screen, scroll and go to the next one. Now you can just long press on the map layers icon and it'll show your last 3 maps that you've been using. So you can really quick just switch between maps if you want to see some different views. If you're not sure where the cache is based on looking at offline maps, you want to see some satellite imagery. It's just really quick and easy. And you can also access the premium offline maps settings from that long press as well. So some users like to toggle on and off different layers that we have on the offline maps. So
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do that without going through all the menus and back.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a good menu or option checkbox, right?
Well, I love the idea, like what Nick's saying, that you do the long press and it just brings up the history of the last 3 maps
Yeah.
you use. I mean, how handy is that?
Super helpful.
Especially if you're layering them.
Yeah.
You blew through something a minute ago and said, just save it to an offline list and then moved on like it was no big deal. But offline lists are kind of a big deal. There's a whole bunch of new bullet points there under the offline heading.
Yeah. There's a lot of new offline filtering options. So Cachly has very powerful filtering of all your offline caches. You can do filtering on a list by list basis, or you can view all caches in all lists and then do filtering on that if you choose. I can't even remember the number of filter options that we have, but it's probably 20 or more.
Yeah.
But yeah, the new version has an option for to see if it's in another list or if it's in a list that you select. This just gives another way to kind of pare your list down, as well as if there's a cache log type in there. So say you want to filter out all caches that have a DNF. And so you can quickly just hide the ones that don't and show the ones that do, or you can invert the filter and hide the DNF ones and show all the other ones. So there's powerful options even in like the invert filter.
So any one of the filters that you have, Nick, you can either have the filter or the inverse of the filter.
Yes, and you can add more and more filters than they compound. And you can do filter logic, so you can do or if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can
So you could do this just like when I try and write code and I end up getting absolutely nothing in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can end up getting 0 results. Yes.
So if I go back in the chat here, Renwood said one thing that'd be great is if I could search for caches that other caches in my party haven't found. So I see you have found by username filtering. You could filter by you could have multiple usernames and then invert that. Is that true? Would that work that way, or is this right?
That would work if you had saved those caches in your offline list. Yes.
In the offline list. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
There's at least one way to get it to accomplish that.
Yeah, but if you're using live caches and you're searching currently, there is an option for that in live filtering where you can say, a username has not found one. So that's
Oh,
another
okay.
way to do it. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
RichRag88 says there's 51 different offline filters. That's a
Wow. And Rich probably helped with half of those.
lot.
Our Reagan. Sorry. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about offline lists, and you just mentioned as well, Nick, there the idea of searching some things live. So live search is definitely one of the. You had live search before, right? This is just some
Yeah.
enhancements to it.
These are additions. So it's nothing new. I mean, live searching has been there since 1.0. But yeah, the API provides quite a few different options for searching of caches, and something that always has been the default in Cachely is showing caches by distance. So when you do a search for, all cache types, it's just going to show you kind of a radius of caches around you. Starts with a radius of 100 miles and loads up to 100 caches at a time. And then if you click the refresh button in Cachely, it will load the next 100 caches up until whatever the max was of your search to a 100 mile radius. But I added in some additional sorting types, which can be useful. So, for example, you could sort by favorite, and you could get all of the high favorites. You could do a descending or an ascending sort, so you could get all of the highest favorites within a 100-mile radius of you, which would be kind of helpful. Or you can sort the other way and get all of ones with zeros, which nobody would really be interested in doing that. But you can do the same thing with terrain or size. Yeah. Or place date or found date. So these different sorting options for the live search just adds some more ways to find caches around your area. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, Nick, I love the way you just, you can use this or this or that. And it's like, hold on here. Do you realize, I mean, our listeners love, one of my favorite features is the Lonely Cache edition.
Mm-hmm.
Just learned about it a few months back. So by find date, you can sort on that. Say, if it hasn't been found in, I think you can set the value of the Lonely Cache, can't you?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. You can say, if it hasn't been found in a year, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think the land sharks were talking. Mr. Land Sharks. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I say that's just a feature he adds and moves on.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, no big deal.
As I say, a few shows back, Mr. Land Sharks was talking about using that feature to find caches that haven't been found for 3-4 weeks, so that it's COVID friendly. Let's say.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a really unique use of the of that feature.
There you go. You just change the icon to a little virus symbol.
Wow.
No, don't do that.
Too soon. Yeah.
No.
A virus symbol with a no sign.
Oh yeah, that's much better, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, do the inverse.
That one.
Okay. That was close. Yeah. Nick, Carlos has a question, and it's probably a question a lot of people have. And it's, how much is Cachely? What does it cost?
Cachely is $4.99. That's for the U.S. App Store, and other currencies are converted with that same value in mind. So, yeah, and offline maps that we mentioned, those are $2.99 for unlimited downloads and for all the maps for the whole world.
Wow, like $3 US one time for all the maps.
Yes, for all devices that you have. Yep,
that's insane.
Yeah, it's underpriced. I agree.
Wow.
Great.
Okay.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Remember, though, that prices are based on what App Store users expect, and they use a whole gob of free apps. And so when you release an app that's $10 and you have in-app purchases that are $10, users leave bad reviews.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
So BC Rockcrawler did the conversion for us at $6.99 Canadian.
Okay.
Very cool.
There you go.
Still a bargain.
I've seen in-app purchases of $99, and I look at that and go, "Who would do that?"
Enough people. I guess sometimes it only takes one,
have
right?
to get one, really. Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Get two of those, you can hire an Android developer.
Yeah.
True.
No.
Oh, that's what you do. You in-app purchase for Android.
No.
That's true. Just for an Android version. I'll put it on the tip screen.
So they have to buy the iOS version in order to get the Android version.
It's true.
Yeah.
I like-
Yeah.
Too funny.
I'm holding out for the Windows Phone version. So.
Yeah. I'm going to make the BlackBerry version first.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, what a funny bunch.
Oh, Carlos wants to know, does GZ or GZ stand for ground zero or geocache zone in Cachely?
GZ?
Yeah.
Where's GZ at in Cachely?
I don't know.
I don't remember any place that says GZ in Cachely, but there's lots of interfaces in Cachely, and I could have forgotten. So I apologize.
Okay. And it may just be like a general question as well.
Yeah, it could be.
Which in general, that means ground zero,
Yes. Ground zero.
geocaching lingo. So, all right. So Carlos also asks, it seems like a well worth investment for himself, a geocacher who's a heavy Mac and Apple user. It says hashtag Cachely for the win. So does it matter if you're a Mac user or not? It really just depends on your mobile phone of choice. Like what PC you use is kind of irrelevant to your use of Cachely, I would assume.
Yeah, you don't have to be
Yeah.
a Mac user at all. No.
Yeah, I think we can.
I mean, there's people nowadays that don't even have computers. They're just mobile only. So
Yeah. Carlos says, all right. I guess I won't have it for task because I'll be downloading the app.
Awesome.
There you go.
There you go.
You
Another
won't
Cachely
lose
user.
credit.
No, it's a
Awesome.
great app.
Let's see. Renwood says he used to notice that, Cachely Beyond, he'd get a text, return to the next. So we talked about that, about the state restoration. And we're not just
Yep.
talking about Washington State,
yeah.
state of the app. Carlos says, I assume there's a Cachely Facebook page, maybe a discussion platform, maybe a support group. Hi, I'm Carlos. I'm addicted to Cachely.
Yes, there is the most active place is there's a Facebook group, Cachely Facebook group, and that has over 2,000 users on it. So make sure just search for Cachely user group or just Cachely in Facebook, and you'll see it. And yeah, people are putting questions on there all the time, and there's lots of us that jump on there, including myself, and help people out. So
Very cool. Hey, there's an interesting question that came from Retro here, who starts off with love the app. So there you go. It's always a good in
thank you.
if you want Nick's attention. And then he says, are there any updates on the app making a sound when you're close to the cache, like the original geocaching app does?
Yes. So that was a feature that has been asked for quite some time, and it didn't make it into 6.0 because it involves a lot of working parts, and I also wanted to have integration with our watch app. So that is planned for Cachely 6.1. So expect that as one of the larger features in 6.1.
Nice.
Very cool.
MC3 Cats wants to know which one of our hosts use Cachely. So I do.
Yeah, I have an Android phone, so I can't load it there, but I do have it loaded on an iPad, and I use it to plan my trips. And I've taken the iPad out in the field occasionally.
Mm-hmm. Somebody said, "Oh, sorry, Jay." Or, I'm sorry, Land Monkey. Oh, I just outed.
You got an iPhone, didn't
Okay.
you?
What's that?
Did you buy an iPhone?
I have a work iPhone, so
Okay.
so I can't put geocaching apps on there. But
Oh, bummer.
my personal phone is an Android, so I am not a Cachely user, but I know how passionate the Cachely users are about it. And like I said off the beginning of the show, like seriously, I legitimately get excited hearing about all the cool stuff that is coming out has come out in 6.0, and how excited the users are to get going with it. And every time we have you on and I learn something new about like the maps, downloading the offline maps for $3 and you've got all of them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like that, it just blows my mind that you can do
Yeah.
it.
So we've got Renwood who says the iPad is good to use in the vehicle as a passenger to navigate on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
Great tool for that.
And you can, as he said, airdrop the cache or the GPX file between the devices. So
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
so we have a question from Three Hams who
Yeah.
asked this before. Thank you, Three Hams, for repeating it so we can.
Yeah.
When looking at a live map, can I tap on a cache and immediately target it without having to open the cache? A long press pulls up options, but not target. It'd be nice to target directly.
Yeah, currently that is not a feature, but it's something that we can easily add. But I'll tell you a quick workaround. If you just long press on the map and you drop a new pin, that allows you to navigate to that pin. So that would be kind of a hacky way to get around that not being in the main options for a cache. But yeah, I'll make sure to note that, and we can get that added in a future version.
There you go.
There
And
you go.
the pins are now movable, right?
Yes, pins are draggable. Yes. now.
Draggable. There, that's
Yep. Just long press on one of the drop pins, and you can drag it. Yep.
That's super handy. Yeah. Wow. More great features.
Jay.
Yeah.
Just buy an iPhone. Get it over.
Tell you what, Donna, you buy one for me and I'll start using it. No problem. Bunch of cheeky monkeys out there. All right.
Yeah, convert the monkey to the iPhone.
Says
I have been
That's
I
a
have
good
been
hashtag.
tempted to look at that new iPhone SE. It's my problem is even those seem too big. I like small phones. So
very cool. All right.
Oh, I think we've gone through the major features. I mean, there's a lot more. We've just
There's a
touched
lot of little ones. Yes.
Yeah. Well, there. You want to go through? Let's see. You mentioned Apple Watch.
Yep. Not really any new features in 6.0 with Apple Watch. But let me look and see if there's anything I want to
All right.
mention.
So while you're doing that, if people wanted to find out what are all the new features in Cachly, or if they're either new to Cachly or they're existing Cachly user, where can they always go to find current information about what's in the new releases?
Sure. So if you have Cachly, you will always see kind of a pop-up that will show kind of our larger new features, and then allow you to go to the page that shows all of them. If you aren't a Cachly user and you're interested, the App Store description always shows a lot of the features, but you can also go to cachly.com, and you can then go to our blog, which has all of the posts that I put up about our features. But one thing I did want to mention, another feature, if it's okay, if we have time here.
yeah.
Yeah, so on our premium offline maps, there was always an accessibility issue. People that turn their phones to have larger fonts, if they wear glasses or they just need a larger font for accessibility reasons. Our maps didn't make any of the text larger, so it stayed small. People had problems seeing it. So in 6.0, that's all changed. It reacts to your changes in accessibility on iOS. If you make bold fonts, if you make large fonts, the map, all the labels will adjust automatically. So when you flip back to Cachly, those will all be fixed. So it's just another thing that I wanted to add in for those people that needed that feature, that were missing that feature and had asked for it. Didn't want to ignore people that needed that. So that now works in 6.0.
That's another one of those things that was probably a ton of work behind the scenes. And it's one of those things that people just don't notice it because it's just what they expect to see. So
Yeah.
That's quality programming there. Good job.
Thank you.
I see that there's a map option to toggle where you've parked. To turn that on. Parking toggle.
Yes, that might not be what you're thinking.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do with your own parking location. It has to do with points of interest on offline maps.
Okay.
You can turn all the parking locations off because sometimes people say, "Hey, I'm in the city and there's like 500 of them, and I don't want to see them anymore." So yeah, it's for that. But if you do want to save your parking location, when you get out of your car, just tap your current location. The little pulsing icon. And you can either drop a pin right there or save a custom cache and name it parking, and give it a different cache type and use that as your way to navigate back to your car. So
There you go. There's a pro tip.
Yeah.
pro tip, it's a workaround.
It is, and in the chat, Rich there was a whole discussion between Renwood and Rich and Brian about the desire to create caches and submit them to HQ through the app. But Rich said, well, you can create a private offline caches in Cachely, which is, I guess, a little bit what you're talking about there, Nick.
Yeah.
Share them with others via the GPX, and it's a great way to field test unpublished stuff. Or, if you're working on creating a GeoCoin challenge or something like that, I guess that would be another way of using Cachely to help with that.
Yep. Yeah, there's a number of reasons that users use that kind of custom offline cache. Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, what do you think, guys? Nick, did we cover enough of 6.0 for you?
Yeah, we covered a lot of the major features, but I would encourage anybody who's interested in seeing all the little small things that aren't necessarily going to warrant a mention, check out some of those links that I mentioned.
Awesome.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. I mean, taking time out of your evening, the time with your family. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really
Thanks
do.
much.
We understand that it's not just it's not just I'm going to go to the other room for you to join us on the podcast. So appreciate that.
So, folks,
No
we
worries.
hope you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Hey, we've got more coming. Join us next week.
Absolutely. And of course, this is always the time that I want to take a moment to thank Landsharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. And hey, as we said, you can go back in person, 3 people at a time. Visit their store in Victoria, British Columbia. Open 6 days a week except holidays, and still shipping orders online daily. We also want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters. Well, that's Landsharks. It's also Cachely. Thank you very much, Nick.
No problem.
It's JP's Geo Designs, Limax, Team Squirrel, and Groovy Owl. And folks, if you want to know more about supporting the show, click on that Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website.
And, somebody like Genies did that.
Yeah. What coaster in green words?
LG 9000,
Camp Clan,
MC3 Cats,
Trexer Zero,
Dora Moore,
Sprouter,
Billy Robson,
Keats 94,
Segehov,
Kev MacD,
Seebeck Tribe,
Dune Buddy,
Team Noltex,
Acker Doc,
Boomer 365,
the GeoNav Pros,
Tick Magnet,
Fairwood West,
Nerve,
On a Boat,
The Geo Travelers,
T Sayer,
Highlands Guy,
Broncos Fan for Life,
Kennel Barb,
Logwork,
Kitty Quest,
Wino Seattle,
Kid Vegas 19,
Antaeus,
B Pendragon,
Alla Robrick,
Subway Mark,
GSM ×2,
CRS 98,
and as Chris mentioned, our newest patron right there below me, Cachely. Thanks, Nick.
Yay!
Well, we thanked you, and we thank you again. And one more time, thanks for all this. This has been great. And one last time, where can people go to find out more about the app or get in touch with you?
You can always search in the App Store for Cachely, or go to Cachely.com, or search for Cachely in Facebook.
Fantastic. And yeah, it's so many people in the chat have said, hey, that's it, I'm going to get Cachely. That's fantastic. So thank you to all you guys. Yeah, Nick thanks you.
Yeah.
Nick's family thanks you.
Well,
so, yeah.
Nick, I think they were waiting around and said, 5 versions, maybe that's not enough. I mean, if he would go to 6, I'll go.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I don't buy anything till it hits the 6th release. That's right. And so folks, hey, if you've enjoyed this podcast, you want to find out more about any of the hosts, well, hey, we're out there on the social medias, and you can find us on the hosts section of the CachingNW.com website.
That's right. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you right there, you can be part of the show. Give us a call. I mean, you can stop. stop what you're doing right now. Give us a call at 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment, ask us a question, or sew us a face mask any time of the day or night. Of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Your support helps keep quality shows coming. So if you like the show, consider clicking on that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. Give us a thumbs up, or even better, give us a review. And make it an honest review. It doesn't have to be a 5-star. We want an honest review. The show's produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2020 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, we ask you, we beg you, we implore you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
Okay, that was really loud in my ear.
The After Show.
Wow.
Hey, I didn't do that one.
He's completely.
The After Show. Hey, I just want to throw out there that 253-693-TFTC works from an Android phone.
Ah,
Does it?
it goes directly to this line right here.
Ah, there you go. That's the frog phone,
That's right.
or the monkey phone. And by the way, Nick, I am threw out there. Thanks for being a good sport about Casually for Android.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yes,
really, that was really
as
loud.
always. Hey, congrats to our chat lackey, Bri Lang, who found his 13,000th
Wait.
cash last week.
Wait. Nobody knows who the chat lackey is.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Oh,
rewind. Look in this little light right here.
Well, 13,000 cash fine, so congrats.
Wow.
Nice.
13,000.
13,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a good number of zeros.
Somebody's been busy. All right. JD Parkman says that he's going to recommend the best Android app in the after show. So, I guess that's coming at some point in time.
Yeah, I deserve that.
Let's see. He did say, now I'm going to go find it just to prove him wrong. Here we go. This is Kid Vegas 19. I have a work iPhone 2, and I'm this close to installing Cashly on it. Use it until the man takes my phone away.
Tell him to email me and I'll send him a free promo code.
Ooh.
Oh,
There
there you go.
Nicely done.
Do it.
Do it. Oh, too funny. What else do we have? Renwood just wanted to thank us for Thursday nights. Well, Renwood, you're very welcome. Thank you, Renwood, and
Thank you. Yeah.
everybody else in the chat for joining us and making this a fun show. And, with great guests like Nick and great people in the chat having a wonderful interaction, it just makes our job that much easier.
And, of course, there's Donna. We love Donna. Always a pleasure. Jim, nice mustache. Chris, nice silver threads. Jay, nice eyebrow expressions. You guys rock.
We do our best. Very funny.
I don't think I've read one quite like that.
No, there you go.
Compliments.
That was good.
Yeah. What else do we have? I like this one. Three Hams. It's like, maybe the chat lackey isn't quite so subtle. Geo name tag says caching the NorthWest chat lackey.
Oops. Maybe he's been outed. I was trying to keep him in the lackey protection program.
Is there such a thing?
Apparently not.
I
There
think
is.
that's
It doesn't
one
work
for-
well.
Yeah,
Not a good one.
there is, but yeah. Too funny. Oh, hey, you know what? I've got a FITAS. It just occurred to me that I was going to mention this in the news section and it slipped my mind. Our friends over at Geocache Talk, this Sunday is their 200th episode. So congrats to those guys.
Good job.
Nice.
That is quite an achievement, hitting 200 episodes.
That means they got to 199 and just were careful. And didn't-
you made it. You did it. Oh, too
be
funny.
careful. It's kind of like, Cashly getting to version 6. They made it to version 5 and then were just careful.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it took, as we discussed, getting to version 6 to get a bunch of people to buy in. So there you go.
Right.
That's true.
So obviously, in episode 200 is where they're really going to break out and start getting all their listeners.
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
if I'm going to listen to a podcast that just has 100 episodes,
No.
maybe 200.
Oh, too funny. I am, says the lackey protection program. Sad
Yeah,
trombone.
womp womp.
I don't even
Too
have that
funny.
sound effect. Why don't I have a sad trombone sound effect?
Well, there you go. There's something to do in all your spare time.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim's
I'll just blink
flashing
about
light.
it. I'll just blink for a while instead.
Well, there you go.
Blinking
Hey,
about
folks, thank you for joining us tonight. And until next week, get out and get cashing in the Northwest.